Hello again. Day 2, Love Speaks. So today we have a quote from Rosemary Watola Traumer. She has a website called 100fallingveils.com. And this is her poem. It talks about a certain bird called the ouzel. Sometimes I want to be anywhere but here. But today I let myself feel it all. I go to the river covered in ice and move along the bank until I find the places where the dark feathered ouzel chooses to submerge in the cold, cold water. It doesn't hesitate to plunge into the frigid depths. It knows it was made for this. Today, contemplating on the ouzel, letting it be our instructor in the ways of diving deep, even when it's cold and frigid and scary and hopeless, I realize we can follow its example. And when I say helpless, I just mean sometimes in the scary, there's a feeling of helplessness within us, isn't there? So we too were born for diving deep, exploring what feeds us, satisfies our souls. We must fall in love with the deepest parts of ourselves, even where the most unsatisfied, grumpy feelings lurk. At least that's what it seems like it's lurking, but I don't think that's quite accurate in my experience. Instead, I think it's more like these feelings, these grumpy feelings, they come from, like I said before, feelings of helplessness, and they pop up when something needs attention, like a fear or perhaps a hurt that we suffered in the past. Yesterday, I went on an awesome, beautiful nature walk, and I felt so free and wildly connected with nature and a feeling of completeness. And when I started getting hungry and it was time to go home, I was driving home, I really resented the fact that I had to go home. I got home feeling stressed about the fact that I don't feel happy here. I feel cabin fever big time. And then there's something else going on where there was COVID at my husband's workplace a couple of weeks ago. And I've been feeling stressed. That stress has been, running under our everyday life, just kind of this ongoing fear of getting ill. And a lot of times my default is just to push these feelings down and ignore them and just try and just move on. And, but later on I was acting really grouchy. In the evening I was acting really grouchy with my husband, and I had to come clean. I needed to take some quiet time to myself to face these feelings. And I did. And I felt rage come up, and I had these images of just like really mean faces inside of my soul. And I'm like, oh, that feels so ugly. And yet really they're just cries for attention. And what's underneath all that rage anyway? The helplessness, the fear. Yeah, you got it. So these ugly feelings really are messengers that can help us tap into our love. They can be viewed in this positive way. So spending time in the quiet, choosing to honor all my feelings with unconditional acceptance was the game changer. I utilize the tapping method. Do you know it? It's called the emotional freedom technique. I talked to myself and I reached out for support. A big hug from my husband. I released shame as it surfaced, because oftentimes when we have these ugly feelings, then the shame comes up, because we're not supposed to be having these ugly feelings. They're so ugly. Oh, how ugly are you? So we get this shame. And we need to talk that out so we can release the shame. We're going to get good at this as we keep practicing it. So I did some accepting and forgiveness work with myself, and also someone else came to my mind when I was in the depths of the ugly feelings, realizing that that person also would often go into grouchiness and have a lot of anger in them. And so I forgave them because that had affected me in the past. So no more rejection of the parts of me that feel overwhelming. Loving the whole kit and caboodle. I was able to completely transform that evening with my husband just by coming clean, being vulnerable, being accepting and loving. And so we ended up having a lot of fun and sweet, intimate time together that night. And I learned a very important lesson. Diving deep will always help me find the sustenance that I require. I am a complex being, and so are you. We're deep and we're substantial. We can trust that whatever fearful faces rise to the surface, they too are bringing us messages of love. So the call to action today is, let's listen to our grumpy feelings. Even if I'm driving the car, or if you are driving your car, and we're having, a rage fit, somebody, gave us the finger, or something happened that really made us angry, let's pull over to the side of the road. Recenter ourselves. Take a moment to ground ourselves in the love that is within. Reconnect to what we know is true. And then later at home, we can journal about this and we can explore further. We are worth the time. You are worth the time and effort that you give yourself. Walk in love, my friends. Ciao for now. See you tomorrow.